2023 breakout candidates. We did this last year. I would say we were probably about 50-50 in how that went. Some people like Jerry Jeudy did not go on to do much of anything. And then some people like Jalen Waddle.
Why does everyone hate on what Jerry Jeudy did last year? I'm not saying it was great, but I'm saying
I think we expected him to have a top 12 season.
He was injured for a couple games, and he had Russell Wilson. So, I mean,
what we thought versus what ended up being did not totally take. So I'm saying it's about 50-50 because Jalen Waddle we said was going to be hot, and he ended up being hot. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes this year. No Joe today, so we're going to have to, kind of pick up the load with the amount of people we got going here. But all right, Josh, you want to kick us off? You want to say who your first breakout candidate is?
I actually do. I'm pretty excited about this one. I'm going to share my screen, so it might take me a second here, but I don't think I'm that slow. So it's the man, the myth, the legend, my man, Jameson Williams. We have not seen much from this guy so far. First round draft pick of the Detroit Lions last year, unfortunately got shut down for the majority of last season and kind of essentially played the decoy for it seemed like most of the year. But before getting injured in that championship game, he was having one of the most impressive college seasons, averaging 20 yards per catch. And that was on a loaded team already. With what Detroit is trying to do and trying to become and what they were on offense last year, I think Jameson Williams is going to be a giant part of this. Now, hopefully fully healthy, presumably. Chark and Hawkinson are no longer in the mix. Obviously, Hawkinson was traded mid-season, so that's not really relevant. But Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond, along with Chark and Hawkinson, had all around 50 targets apiece last year. And Hawkinson's 50 came in, 8 games. So this means there's going to be a large percentage of this high-powered, explosive offense just missing. So Jameson Williams, I think, comes and picks up the pieces. And we know his route tree is a deep route tree, but I think that they will be using him in a short route. I mean, you see all these giant deep ball college receivers come out, and they're not only deep ball receivers once they actually get their NFL career going. So I think they utilize Jameson Williams in a really smart way. He's a very fast, explosive guy. I think we've kind of determined at this point in general that ACL injuries are not really just a 1-year injury anymore. It takes a little bit longer than that. I think in Dynasty, it's going to be a bit challenging to get him, but I feel like you could float a mid-first rounder, inevitably what they probably paid for him last year, to them with this draft upcoming. And honestly, in redraft, I think you can keep an eye on him in the mid to late rounds. I think the rookies will basically just overshadow him in the drafts. Jameson Williams is something exciting about this kid. I know there's not much stats to show, but it wasn't just oh man, that sucks for the Lions, botched pick. But I think people are feeling that way right now if Jameson Williams is on their team.
Yeah, I would say Dynasty, it's probably gonna be tough to get him because if you paid for him last year, I think you kind of expected that you were going to get some kind of value last season, which didn't end up really happening. So I think that's going to be tough. Redraft, though, I think that especially in casual leagues where there's people that aren't necessarily paying attention, I think you're going to get a huge discount for Jameson Williams. And, yeah, I mean, good call. I mean, this offense is only going to get better. I mean, it was one of the best offenses last season. And I think, adding in Jameson Williams is just, icing on the cake to an already great offense. So yeah.
I'm just excited to see the potential here, and I just feel like with Chark getting 800 plus yards and Reynolds and what's his face getting another 500-ish yards a piece, there's just so many yards out there and catches that are just going to be around. And obviously Amon-Ra is still going to have a good season. Hopefully they get themselves a tight end, and the running backs I think we already know are going to do something. So
right. No, that's a good pick. I like James.
I figured you weren't going to argue with this one. You will later. Don't worry.
I won't. Yeah, I was about to say I probably will. All right. My first person I'm going to throw out there isn't necessarily okay. Saying a breakout is kind of tough, but I think that he is going to be substantially better than he was last year. My first pick is going to be Chris Olave from the Saints. I know first blush, everybody's going to be like, well, I mean, Billy, he finished as wide receiver 22 last season. How exactly is he going to break out? And he's currently being drafted on Underdog at wide receiver 14. So that actually even show you even further that people are drinking the Kool-Aid. However, I just want to throw out there that I think that he is going to exceed wide receiver 14. I think we're looking at a wide receiver 1 here, but you're going to be able to get him in the second, third round, fourth round maybe of redrafts. I think that people are going into this thinking that he is just going to be kind of exactly what he was last season. He's going to be on a team with a bad quarterback. But I think Derek Carr can make Olave into the receiver that we were hoping for. The consistency there is going to be key because he had a lot of huge games last year where it was Andy Dalton. Sometimes it was Jameis Winston. You never knew who you were going to get. Sometimes Taysom Hill was throwing the ball. You don't really have many of those problems anymore. So I think with Derek Carr there, Chris Olave is going to exceed wide receiver 14. I think he could finish the season as wide receiver 7 or 8 on a good team or on a team that's probably not going to be great, but I think they will have to score a lot. And with Kamara being out the first couple weeks too, potentially, even though we haven't really got any clarification on that, I think that the target share there with Derek Carr, just give me the Chris Olave stock because I think that next season we'll be looking at him as a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I actually can't. I would love to disagree with you, but I don't think Derek Carr is a huge upgrade, but he does bring consistency at the very least. Consistently bad, that is. No, I'm just kidding. But the first part of the season, Chris Olave was the guy to have. Everyone saw him, and he was probably in the wide receiver 8 category for most of the career. And as you see in the end, he kind of fell off. He missed a couple of games. Was not getting the targets that they needed. And this was a team that was still fighting for the playoffs up until the very end. It's not like they gave up by any means. He was kind of just a 4 for 50-yard kind of guy. I completely agree with you. I think Chris Olave with a consistent quarterback. Look what he did in his rookie year. The man is a monster. I think he was kind of the written off college player coming in the draft. Nobody really wanted him, including yourself, Billy, if I might add, because there's a reason it says drop here because appreciate that pick. I didn't know what he was going to be. I don't watch college all that much, but I can say that he is the guy. And I think my favorite part about this is the fact that the Michael Thomas experiment is officially over. So we're not dealing with. Well, I'm sorry, but
we're back, so I don't know what that means.
We're done giving up the hope that he's going to return to anything. I don't understand why anyone else is still believing and drinking this Kool-Aid, but Chris Olave is the main guy on this team, and honestly, there's not a whole lot of talent other than him on that team.
Even if Thomas comes back, Thomas is mainly a slot receiver. Olave is still a down-the-field guy, so I don't even know if that would necessarily eat into his share. It might eat into, Shaheed's share, which, Michael Thomas is going to be better than that, but I think Olave presents a lot of options to where I think this is like Jalen Waddle, where Jalen Waddle last year, he was pretty good his first season, but second year he was even better. And I think this is a situation like Olave is going to be in.
I completely agree. I have nothing against this, but I have a feeling you're going to have something against this. My next guy is a player has kind of been completely written off at this point. I wouldn't say quite as a bust, but as a player who's not in that elite category anymore. And it's my man, Naji Harris. He saw some decline in his sophomore year. Nobody can deny that. Jaylen Warren did compete for some snaps throughout 2022, but not in a way that should really see Naji decline. What made Naji decline was the team itself not being good. We talked about this in the beginning of the podcast, but if you haven't heard it, the NFL running back landscape is not really the same as what it was even 3 years ago, much less 5 years ago. And everyone in the fantasy community has written Naji's last year as this is what he's going to be for the rest of his career. This is a man who's played every game of 2022 and averaged 13 points per game in PPR. That's not bad for a team that was with a rookie quarterback. I don't know why this is a bad thing. People are upset that Naji was getting him 10 points. I understand you drafted him early. If you're in Dynasty and you had him in a different round, then you're feeling a little bit better about him. But I'm not buying this. He benefited in his rookie year by having an aging Roethlisberger who just could not complete a pass downfield at all. So the dump offs were at a premium at the time. But I believe the Steelers will and can get back to this year a bit more. Caught the ball very well in both years, even though he didn't have as much last year. He has also yet to really hit his full potential on touchdowns because they don't really score a lot because the team is not great. I believe this is going to go up in this year. Second year for Pickett at the helm. They now know what they have in Pickett, at least mildly. He's not a top 10 quarterback. He's not the best thrower in the world. He can make some plays. And how do they work to make this team better? Then you give it to the best player on the team, and that's Naji. I don't understand why people think that this is the end. People are allowed to have down years. It's not a decline that's going to continue. At the very minimum, he would do this exactly again. But I wouldn't even be upset with it. You got running back 14 on the year, 1,000 yards rushing, but there's no way this man only gets 7 touchdowns again. Like he's a big dude. He's going to be their goal line guy. They just have to get to the goal line. They have to figure out how to use Pickett correctly. Tomlin's a smart guy. He's going to go out there and he's going to give Naji the ball. So,
okay. Well, I'll give the bad and the good sides of your argument here. Bad side of the argument is that the O-line is still bad. Like, they still have not helped him out. Now, we still have a draft. We still have some free agents out there, so it's still time to address that. But for right now, I think that's the continual problem. I don't know what the Steelers have against building a good offensive line, but they clearly need to, get over it. And then the other part is, the Jaylen Warren piece scares me a little. I don't think it's as big of a deal as some people are making it out to be. I've seen a lot of people saying that this could be a split workload. I think is completely wrong. I think if anything, Naji maybe 3 down, and then you put in Jaylen Warren for passing downs, or just like weird plays where maybe you need, like a surprise factor or something.
That 500 yards has really got people scared, man.
I don't really think – I know, and I see a lot of people saying that, like, well, he worked – he earned his chunk of the offense. I'm like, did he, though? I mean, earn it? Like, I don't know about all that.
If you look at it, 77 carries for 370 yards, not great. 272 carries for Naji still. Like, I'm not down on the yards per carry. It's not looking great, but once again, that offensive line's not great. He's making plays. He's only going to get better. I mean, he's going to get that passing game again. Maybe it won't be 94 targets again, but it will be there. Like, they're not going to not use him. Like, Pickett's got to have dump offs. He's got to have that guy who's reliable, and Naji's that guy. Warren's there to get him not injured, basically.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think the good side of your argument is I think you're going to be able to get Naji kind of cheap. A lot of people were burned by him last year, and they're not going to go for him again. So it's kind of like the Saquon Barkley effect, where like Saquon Barkley got pushed down boards, and then he just came back and had like a great season and paid off for a lot of those people that were doubting him. I think this could be a similar situation where the first round you might be able to grab one of the best wide receivers, and then the second round you're able to get on that turn, able to get Naji Harris as one of those, early picks in the second round, which he's probably going to exceed that value. I think you're right in that aspect. So I can see the good and I can see the bad.
I haven't seen the layout of redraft yet, so that's why I wasn't confident on where people are going, but I can see
I don't know,
getting an AJ Brown in the late first and getting Naji in the early second. I mean,
exactly. And you would be happy with that.
Yeah.
A lot of people would be happy with that. And I see a lot of people will probably be like, oh, you're taking Naji Harris. You see what happened last year? And it's like, well, this is a new season. I saw what's happening.
Josh Jacobs is a perfect example who's been, kind of okay and good for his majority of his career, and then has the breakout #1 running back of the year. I mean, obviously the offensive line's not great. I understand that, but I think Naji Harris, who ran on that's pretty much that same offensive line the year before, who did fine in the passing game. And sure, Jaylen Warren's going to cut into that, but it's not that he's not capable of catching the ball. So, I mean, he still caught like 75% of his targets, which from Pickett and Roethlisberger is pretty great for 2 seasons for a running back, especially of his size, who I think I was actually shocked to see that he could catch the ball in his rookie year.
Yeah. Okay. I have one more normal one before we start getting into kooky
some kooky land. Love that.
We're going to get kooky, but I'll do a normal one first. And that is Rashad White for the Buccaneers. So 2022, he finishes running back 36. 2023 so far in underdog, he's being drafted as RB 29. Look, the main thing here is opportunity. Fournette's not there anymore. He might sign back, which might make this whole thing irrelevant. But if they are looking towards the future, if they do kind of decide that they're going to bail on this year, we're going to have Baker Mayfield there kind of ride us out to maybe get the #1 pick. I think that would be a great time to develop a player like Rashad White in this offense. And then you did see the head coach come out and say that he is going to go into the season as the running back 1. Like, the plan for Rashad White is to begin the season as the running back 1. And I think based on the offense, because I know Baker Mayfield's limitations, they're going to have a strong running game, and they're going to have to try to establish the run. And a player like Rashad White is going to get plenty of chances to give this whole thing a go right off the top. So, I mean, at running back 29, though, you're going to – I mean, that's got to be in the 7th, 8th round possibly. You're not going to get a better flyer than Rashad White, who is the running back 1 on a team. Now, given right now we don't know what that fully situation is going to look like. But I bet that they go into the season with Rashad White as the running back one. And then if they decide to change everything around, maybe that happens next season. But this season, I think you're going to get him getting a good chance to show what he can do.
Yeah, who's their backup running back at the moment? Chase Edmonds. Okay, so they did.
Yes.
I was gonna say they already signed another guy. It's pretty clear that Fournette's off the team. Rashad White. I don't know if you see the stats on the screen. If you're watching our YouTube channel, you are. If you're listening on the podcast, we'll show you some stats on the screen later. Go check out our YouTube page. But 14, 13 carries. He was pushing like 12, 16 points a game. I just would love to see this as a full workload. I think his most was 22 for 105. Just imagine what 25 could look like against a bad defense, or he just has a breakout. The man had a great year for not even starting really ever. I think there's a good chance. Chase Edmonds has really only been a good complimentary back throughout his career. I've actually always, right. I was rooting for Chase Edmonds, to be fair. But that's going to be a good estimate. Maybe they touch something in the draft, but I would imagine it's more depth at this point.
The draft is going to hurt if they go in the fourth round. That's going to hurt. But
I don't think it would hurt anything if they grab another rookie, as long as it's not Bijan. I mean, or Gibbs. I mean, those are the only two that could really hurt Rashad's stock. I think this might be a good chance to try to throw. Maybe this is just because we're getting ready for the draft and people are getting excited about draft picks, but this might be a good chance to try to get Rashad White from somebody. I feel like it might be a little difficult. I really can't wait till you get into kooky land, because right now I'm really enjoying these picks that you have, and didn't even think about Rashad White.
The thing is like, yeah, he's going as like an underdog, at least for best ball leagues. So given it's not a direct 1-to-1 with redraft, but RB29, I mean, shit, being you, if we left our drafts, home league drafts with Rashad White as the like 9th round pick, we would both be ecstatic about that right now. So if that's
definitely no way that's going to actually happen.
There's no way, but like right now, like I would
right now, I kind of want to go do an underdog draft, is what I'm trying to say.
Just to see if you can get him there. Yeah, because I mean, shit, that's great value, and you're getting a player that's probably going to get a chance to be number one.
I mean, even if he, I mean, I assume that the stock will rise, especially closer to the draft once we get into like actual fantasy football draft season. But at the same time, like even to get him in the 6th round or 5th round, I mean, it's worth taking a flyer. You already got your top 2 running backs, top wide receiver. If he's your 2nd running back or 3rd, you're set. So
exactly.
Well, speaking of 2nd and 3rd running backs, and probably going to be drafted around the same time, this might be where you leave me. Again with the Naji situation, but I'm going back to the well a little bit, just one more time. Kind of a running back who's shown some promise, haven't had the best years in the past, and he also happens to be on the Detroit Lions. And no, wish Joe was here because this would have been so great. But it's David Montgomery, the ex-Bear, headed to Detroit Lions. I'm excited about this because I truly believe in David Montgomery as a running back, and we all saw what Jamal Williams did. And no, not only from the 1-yard line. I know what you remember him. All Swift managers out there were like, "Oh, I can't believe Jamal Williams is doing this." The man had over 1,000 rushing yards, and he did not have 1,000 rushing touchdowns. So he wasn't even considered out of the backfield for receiving either. Like I think he had probably like 150 yards receiving tops. Probably less. Did not do the research on that because I know he doesn't catch. But insert David Montgomery, a running back who's always been able to stay mostly healthy throughout his career, a guy who's averaged 300 receiving yards per season throughout his career. And I think he can run the ball from the 1-yard line, which is exactly what the Jamal Williams role entails. And not to mention, this kind of just shows the team's lack of faith in DeAndre Swift's health. They held him out quite a bit throughout the season last year. There were some moments where you thought that, okay, Swift's healthy again, and Jamal Williams was still getting the ball. Montgomery's in line for, in my opinion, the best year of his career. He gets a chance to prove to the Bears twice that they should have signed him to a long-term deal. The revenge is just going to be phenomenal whenever he does. One of actually the best O-line that Montgomery has ever had a chance to run behind, mixed with a team that can actually move the ball downfield. Once again, sorry, Joe, not here to have this one. So jot Monty down for well over 1,000 yards and give me 12 touchdowns on the year at least. I don't know. I feel like this is the trade that I'm trying to make in every dynasty move, right? In dynasty league right now. Redraft, probably going to the 4th, 5th round like he always has. Nobody ever is excited about getting Montgomery, but getting 800 yards a season has been great on the worst team in football and still been able to run. This should really finish off your running backs as your like third running back in the 5th, 6th round. You got wide receivers. You might have a quarterback already. You could have a solid team adding Montgomery to your team.
Yeah, I will be snapping up a ton of David Montgomery shares in my redraft leagues. I can just already feel like he's going to get pushed down because the Swift contingent is strong and the media that surrounds DeAndre Swift is strong. But the thing is like David Montgomery is better than DeAndre Swift. I don't know if I want to say that too loudly because they'll come for me, but I actually think David Montgomery presents a lot of opportunity here. And if I was DeAndre Swift and if I was DeAndre Swift managers, I would be quite concerned that they were ready to bring in someone of David Montgomery's. If you truly believed in Swift, you would have brought in like Dante Foreman, because then that means like Swift is definitely the 1 and Dante Foreman is definitely the 2. But in this situation, I don't know. I would think David Montgomery is probably going to end up being the 1 by the end of the season. And then DeAndre Swift, while he's, recovering from multiple injuries throughout the season, will be the running back too. So right now, definitely the time for David Montgomery to come out here.
Swift's probably going to be drafted around earlier, if not more than Montgomery. Monty has always kind of been hated by the fantasy, not hated, it's a strong word, disliked by the fantasy community as being mediocre or whatever. You know what he's been? Consistent as fuck. The man's averaging almost 900 yards per year in 4 years, played almost every game, if not every game of his career. Oh, no, that's not true. He's missed a few games here and there, but he's played mostly full seasons, still getting 1,000 yards. Sure, the touchdowns and yards aren't great. The yards per carry is for a terrible defensive or O-line, a team that also can't really throw the ball for the last 3 years. I mean, there's been moments and games, and this was also with Herbert coming in and actually running a more consistent like 1-2 with Montgomery after his injury, and also Justin Fields, who also started scrambling. So that 800 yards last year, don't worry about that. That's literally
that O-line was a tragedy with the Bears. I mean, if Joe was here, he would agree. Like that O-line was a tragic situation. So
still averaged 4 yards rushing. He still got 300 yards receiving, and that's something
the Lions have a much better line. So he's going to be able to. We're actually going to get to see the full David Montgomery experience.
Yeah, I'm excited about Montgomery all around. I think it's one of those guys that like it's not a sexy name. It's a very boring name, or at least it seems. David Montgomery. Yeah, I kind of fall asleep listening to that name, but just watch out for him at the end of the year. And not honestly, not the worst 6th round pick you can make. So
I agree. Okay. We might consider this cuckoo land, but I don't know. We'll see. My last person I'm going to bring up is going to be Nico Collins of the Houston Texans. He finished last season as a wide receiver 77. He is currently being drafted as wide receiver 77. Listen, so here is my argument for him. A, no Brandon Cooks. B, there is no wide receiver 1 on the team. They will be bringing in, I'm assuming, a rookie of some stature there. And then, D, he's going to have a rookie quarterback again. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that I think that people are kind of blowing out of proportion. He's never played with a good quarterback, ever. Like, Watson was not there for either of the 2 years that he's played in Houston. We've only gotten to see him play with Davis Mills and others. So I think that Nico Collins has maybe not gotten to show exactly what he is fully capable of. Now, I know the seasoned Dynasty people out there know that the hype for Nico Collins has been real for a couple years here. We did expect last year that he was going to make some strides forward because we didn't think Brandon Cooks was going to be on the team the whole year, much less involved in the offense because we thought he was going to get traded. But I think this is the year that we finally see Nico Collins. Now, breakout, what does that mean for Nico Collins? I'm thinking maybe a useful flex play because wide receiver 77 denotes definitely on the bench, maybe on the waiver wire. I think he will be at least a useful player on the end of your bench, like a Tyrell Williams, if everybody remembers the Tyrell Williams experience when he was with the Chargers. You never know when to play him, but he was definitely a useful flex player for most of his career. Collins kind of fills in that blank for me.
I gotta take over here because we need to define what a breakout player is. Is this just exceeds his ADP? Because breakout player to me is like could be in the top 10, top 15. Okay. I just want to make sure.
But I think he could greatly exceed it. Like, would it shock me if he finished as the 22nd best wide receiver next season? Not necessarily.
I like this more for our late round steals, but I don't disagree with you because they are going to immediately insert Bryce Young or CJ Stroud to this team. I assume. I mean, I don't know. There's been talks about Richardson potentially going in the top 2. But anyway, I mean, you're going to have a quarterback who has potential coming in. And sure, he's going to look for his new rookie as well. I think they're going to probably have some camaraderie because I imagine Quentin Johnson's going there or, Jackson. But I just, at the same time, Nico as the veteran will hopefully get some looks. He's actually been pretty consistent when healthy. Obviously hasn't had a quarterback like we've talked about, but I mean, the 12s and 15s and everything is pretty great for a young guy like him on a really bad team.
I just
the
feel
good thing
like
about bad teams, which this team still will be a bad team, is they will be throwing a lot and they will be showing off their new toy and quarterback. So there will be a lot of passes downfield. This team's not going to immediately vault themselves into, playoff contention.
Look at who the options right now for Houston is. Just assume that there's a rookie in there too. Assume it's a first round rookie. You've got Robert Woods, who was in Tennessee last year.
He's making a comeback.
Yeah, he seems to be that way. You got Nico Collins, Noah Brown, and then that one wide receiver who I can never remember tight end that I can never remember his name.
Farrow.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, I got Dalton Schultz. I forgot about that.
Wow, I did not remember that.
Brevin Jordan. They do have Dalton Schultz now.
Yeah, that is true. Anywho, I still think that Nico Collins by the end of the season will be fighting for the most receptions on the team, or at least the most targets, because I think it's going to take a minute for the rookie to kind of get on line with the other rookie. But I think if you have a player like Nico Collins who is ready to break out, I think that this will be the opportunity for him. Just saying. I think Nico Collins might be his time to shine.
I seem to make sure that we're not saying breakout is in top 10, top 15, because I don't see that happening.
That's why I made it sure that it was known as a flex play potential. Tyrell Williams is who I comped him to, which is just hilarious for those of us that
or
remember.
Nelson Aguilar, but that's actually more of a one-hit wonder. So Tyrell Williams is actually more of an all-season. 4-hit wonder. Speaking of 4-hit wonders, Christian Watson is going to have a bad season, and that's just a little extra bonus. That's just a little extra bonus for you guys. Unless somehow Rodgers is there.
I got 2 more in Cuckoo Land. You want to visit those real quick?
Yeah, let's do some Cuckoo Land because Nico Collins was already a bit of a stretch. Also, Bobby Trees is coming back. I just want to let everybody know he got a shit end deal in Tennessee. Nobody could throw the ball there. Bobby Trees, look out for him.
I'm not gonna lie, I did forget about Dalton Schultz signing there, so it does kind of hurt my argument a little bit. But I still think wide receiver wise, still not that bad. Okay, back to Cuckoo Land. This one, I don't even think is necessarily Cuckoo Land. It's just the amount of value you're going to get from him. I'm not really that positive. And that's Trey McBride from the Arizona Cardinals. Okay. The thing is we are in a huge rebuilding year for the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler's going to be gone for probably the first 6 weeks, maybe a month. I don't know. Still don't know how long that's going to be. He finished last season as tight end 37. He's getting drafted this year as tight end 22. Which I think is already a bigger vote of confidence than I would have assumed people were giving him. But I would say based on the high draft capital that they gave him last season, the pass catching options are dropping like flies. DeAndre Hopkins might not even be on the team to start the season. And then you just have an aging Zach Ertz, him and Marquise Brown. And that's about it.
Calm down. This is where I bring you to Cuckoo Land here. Trey McBride looked okay as a tight end last year, even when Ertz was off the team or injured throughout the time. Trey McBride did not look good, and I'm hoping he's doing some training in the offseason right now. I actually highly disagree with this. I think this was not quite a Kyle Pitts level mistake in tight ends drafting high, but because you didn't
definitely not. It was like a second rounder.
Yeah, I assume he was probably a second rounder, especially in Dynasty Leagues, especially. But I don't love what I've seen from Trey McBride, and a backup quarterback I don't see going too much to the tight end. Also, Zach Ertz will be back. They have him under contract, I believe, for the next 2 years, at least next year, and they don't really have an out this year, so I should say.
They do have an out. He's 35 years old, so
the man is still great. You don't replace what's not broken. I don't know. Honestly, I personally think that the Cardinals completely wasted Trey McBride's talent, and I feel like he's going to be a bust because of that. because he's going to sit behind. He might turn into a Waller and be like that guy, obviously not practice squad or anything, but the guy who's just practiced and been backup for so long. And eventually when he's out of Zach Ertz's shadow, yeah, Trey McBride could be good, but
I don't think he got a full great opportunity last season to show what he could do. It was still
am I against
snaps.
getting Trey McBride as a backup tight end? Absolutely not. I love the idea of taking a shot, but to say he's going to have a breakout year, I mean, sure. Do you count breakout as better than his 230 yards last year?
Yes.
265. That was way too close. The fact that I guessed completely on that is just ridiculous.
I don't think he had the right opportunity to show what he can do. We will see what happens in the future. But Trey McBride, it would not shock me this year if he's like Greg Dulcich or something where he comes out of
calm down. I'd be better. You'd be better off just grabbing random tight ends at the end of dynasty drafts. All right, let's continue.
All right,
what's your next cuckoo land?
One last. This is the one I've been saving. This one. I made this pretty one specifically for you. My last one is SMJ Ryan, running back for the Denver Broncos. Here is the argument. So last year he finished as running back 33. This year he's being drafted as running back 44. Here's the one thing. Sean Payton brought him in for a reason. And look, I get it. Javonte's there. He definitely is going to get the first crack at, I'm sure, being running back 1 if he's healthy enough to even start after that. But SMJ Ryan was brought there for a reason by Sean Payton. Now, what role is he going to fill for them? I don't necessarily know yet.
Backup running back.
Maybe. I don't think so, though. I think he's going to be a viable player in fantasy this year, and I definitely could see him being a running back too if things go according to Sean Payton's plan. That's just my thought there.
I hate this. Is this where we're at? So Javonte Williams gets a pretty bum deal the first 2 years of his career, and we're just completely whoever's the backup for Javonte, pick him up. That's how I feel about SMJ Ryan. I don't think he's a bad running back.
New head coach, new owner, new GM. You know what that spells? They don't give a who was there before they got there. They just don't.
This is the best opportunity for SMJ Ryan ever. But to get too excited about this is a little ridiculous. You were talking about he was on one of the best teams in football, going to what was pretty much the worst team in football. Hopefully the Broncos can do something different. This Russell Wilson trade's been a fucking abysmal one for them. I think everyone's excited about them getting Russell Wilson because this was just going to open the ball up for Javonte. I don't think you're not going to see Russell Wilson and SMJ Ryan out there running things and getting just nasty with fucking 175.
One of the best offensive coaches in football is not running the offense.
I would love to see this. I would love to see the Russell Wilson trade work out, but to say that Russell Wilson and SMJ Ryan are like just going to take the league by storm when you it's a lot. This is your wildest take, I will say so far.
My trust is
oh my God. Is it because he's from fucking Oklahoma, Billy?
No. Because of Sean Payton. I keep telling you, the coach is the reason I mentioned him. He brought him there for a reason. They would not have signed him unless Sean Payton wanted to use him for something. And I don't think it's to be the backup. I think it's to be an integral part to the offense. I really do. No, you know what? Okay, we got story time about SMJ Ryan. So the first year I ever played Dynasty football, my first draft that I ever did, I drafted this motherfucker 6th overall. 6th, because he was a third-round pick to the Washington. And I thought, you know what? He was really great at Oklahoma. I don't see why his game can't transfer to the NFL. I thought he was going to be fantastic. He was dead to me within like a year because he was not useful, not any great part of the offense. He was garbage. Anywho, fast forward, he gets on the Cincinnati Bengals, has a mini resurgence, and I was completely shocked. I could not believe what was happening. Can't believe he was that useful for them even. And then he blew that third down play in the Super Bowl, and the rest is history from there. However, now that he's a free agent, he had anywhere to sign in the NFL. I don't think he would have picked Denver if he didn't think that they had a plan for him to be involved. And I think that is going to be a slept-on part of the offseason storyline is that he was brought in there by Sean Payton. I think that's going to mean a lot, to be honest.
I hope I'm wrong, but let's go ahead and throw a fireball bet on this because
I love it, but I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't even know what to put on that because it's not
Well,
like I think
well,
he's gonna.
no. We'll know. We'll know.
Okay. Okay. I like
We'll
this
know.
bet. I'm just gonna write down
It's not.
SMJ Ryan will know.
We'll know. Or good? Question mark. That's
I
what
don't
it
know.
is.
We'll know if it's not good or good.
Worst comes
I
to
trust
worst, we'll
that.
split it, and it'll be like, all right, he got 500 yards, and he had some valuable games when Javonte was out for 2 or something. You know what I mean? But like, at the moment, I am very excited to see the Broncos with John Elway gone and Sean Payton coming in, basically just turning this to a completely different organization. I love John Elway. Actually, what was honestly one of my first loves of football, like back when the little fucking wiffle ball type footballs came out, little throwing when I was a kid. Yeah, super excited about that. John Elway, first jersey I ever owned of NFL player. One of my favorite players growing up. Yeah, didn't really care about the Broncos or whatnot. Just fucking loved John Elway. I think
you didn't have a Rams jersey as a child.
No, I fucking hated the Rams. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I'm not. I can't say that I'm glad. I can't say that I'm glad they left because I liked watching them play against my team or teams that I wanted to see. That was always really enjoyable. But like, fuck the Rams, all around. Just never really been a huge fan.
I had a Torrey Holt jersey. That was my first one.
All right, that's badass. My brother did have an Isaac Bruce jersey. He was always a big fan. I actually got to meet the guy.
Bruce
super nice
was
guy.
a cool one too.
But in general, like just John Elway was just great. I don't know how he's such a bad NFL executive or whatever his position was.
I mean, Michael Jordan's GM of the Bobcats or whatever, and they sucked.
Yeah, but that team always sucked, to be fair. The Broncos actually used to be a good team not too long ago, and this Russell Wilson trade.
You got Peyton there.
Yeah, that's true.
Not Sean Payton, but Peyton Manning.
No, I get. I know where you went with that. I mean, that was a very impressive, smart move by him. He did get the ring there. That was super cool. But like at the same time, it was not a long-term friendly deal. This Russell Wilson thing was supposed to be a 5-year deal, or like a 5-year, like we're the elite team again in this conference, competing with Patrick Mahomes. It looked like an embarrassment last year.
That was the thought. Yeah, it's going to be weird. Apparently, I mean, Russell Wilson just seems like not a fun guy to get along with. So we'll see how that goes. Best of luck to Broncos fans like Balmer, who are in for.
Balmer's going to listen to this. He's like, dude, why did you have to trash on my team like that?
Yeah, it's true.
He'll appreciate the SMJ Ryan take, though. All right, anyway, we got some defensive players. I know we're offensive points, but let's get into some defensive players. And for me, it's time to really talk about some Eagles. It's been a long time. I think I mentioned
had to get one in here.
I mentioned a little Eagles in the first 7 minutes. We did chat about that, but haven't actually talked about an actual Eagles player, mainly because they're already good. They can't break out if they're already good, right? Anyway, Nakobe Dean is the breakout player for IDP positions or just fun to watch. So Nakobe Dean, sophomore season coming out. This is a guy who was asked about his playing time during the playoff run. It was quite at the end of the season. He was asked if he was upset about missing this time on the field and not getting the snaps. And he took it like a true champ and said, honestly, I'm just happy we're winning, happy to be a part of this great organization, yada, yada, yada. Practice, grinding on special teams. This is the next Jalen Hurts of this team, but obviously on defense. So vacated from the Eagles between Kaiser White and TJ Edwards are 269 tackles. I didn't make that up. That's a true stat on this Eagles defense. And while he probably will not be 100% perfect, as he's a bit undersized, and we saw what happened with Isaiah Simmons, he will more than likely cover the tight ends and easily cover. I think his floor is 100 tackles at the very least. His ceiling can be upwards of league-leading tackles if he actually has the talent and can wrap up and get those tackles. Even if his talent level isn't as refined, these tackles should just basically walk right to him with that D-line. Insert Alex Singleton, basically, who wasn't very impressive with the Eagles, but had loads of missed tackles, but had over 100 tackles in both of his starting seasons with the Eagles back when linebacker was an issue. I'm thinking at this point, this is your chance to go get Dean, although this might be a little tough because it's very clear that the Eagles have not done anything about the linebacker position, and he's basically the only one on there, along with the guy from the Bears, Nicholas Morrow, who everyone was excited about last year. So there's some talent and some young age there, but Dean is 100% starting. There's no way. Hopefully he was in the gym working out all this offseason and just getting ready to be that guy before the free agency news came. And hopefully you already have him waiting in your wings. If you're playing IDP, you might have drafted him last year. He went pretty early, probably late second round, early third, if you were lucky enough to get him. Everyone was pretty excited about him, but nobody saw Kaiser White and TJ Edwards doing what they did last year. So I think this is great for the Eagles. I think that they still probably add some linebacker depth in the draft, probably in the later rounds. There are some pretty good guys out there, but Dean's that dude.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I had Dean as my linebacker 1 going into the draft process last year. I loved him at Georgia. He was the definition of having that dog in him. Like, he was just a really great player there. He was the heart and soul of that defense, which was one of the best college defenses I've ever seen, if not the best college defense I've ever seen. And Dean was the clear and cut leader of that team. So no notes, because I'm hoping that Nakobe Dean breaks out. I'm very excited for that. I hope we get it.
I was gonna say I traded a lot of stuff for him to Lang in the league, so hopefully it does pan out. But it's not even just because I'm a homer team player. I thought it was weird when we got Dean and didn't use him, but this year he's gonna be used.
I agree. Okay, my choice is Willie Gay from the Chiefs. Now, I understand the argument straight away is that Nick Bolton's there, and Nick Bolton had a much better season last year than him. However, I think this might be a rising tides raises all boats situation where, since Nick Bolton is now known, as the best linebacker on the team, I think that might raise Willie Gay's profile too. I mean, he had, I consider, somewhat of a breakout season last year. I mean, 191 points was nothing to sneeze at. That was definitely a decent start. But I think this year we might get closer to the 100 tackles. Just the chance for the tackles for loss and some of those disruptive plays, such as interceptions, pass deflections, could go up because they might be shifting away from going to Nick Bolton's side of the field. I think that just having Nick Bolton there will raise Willie Gay's profile from what it was last year. And I think we might finally get to see him be who he was drafted to be. When he was drafted, we all hoped he was going to be what Nick Bolton ended up being, but I think now we can finally get to it.
I was saying there was some pretty big disappointment among fantasy.
I dropped him. I mean, I had him on my team and dropped him in 2021.
He did have an impressive year last year, though. Just coming back from those first 2 years and not being the guy. Maybe it was he needs to be that linebacker too. I actually was not impressed by him. He just doesn't look right. But
the first 2 years, I feel the same, and that's why, like I said, I dropped him straight up from my team. He was one of my drops to add rookies after the rookie draft in 2021, and now I kind of look back like, damn, I should have gave him one more chance. But I feel like you say that about every player in Dynasty, and it never works out. And I think for Willie Gay, that it's going to be one of those that you're actually like, you end up being like, damn, I probably should have kept him.
I feel you. I gave up on DJ Chark too soon, although it hasn't like really hurt me, but it was one of those things that like he didn't play his rookie year, and the Jaguars looked like they were going nowhere. So I will say one thing that to be weary of with Willie Gay, you're not worried about Drew Tranquil coming in at all? I mean,
not yet. I mean, obviously, as we go on and we see that he takes over, but I think even then, if Willie Gay, I think this is the last year of his contract with the Chiefs, so I think he's in a contract year. So either something's got to happen. He's either going to go to a different team next season, or he's going to come correct this year and earn his contract extension with the Chiefs. So I think, something's got to give when it comes to that. And I think while Tranquil being there is definitely incentive to keep your play up, I think it's more of like a backup, to be honest.